Can you do bohurt slash armored combat slash steel fighting and never actually fight? So what do I mean by that? When I say, can you do bohurt or steel fighting, whatever you're going to call it, and not fight? What I mean is, can you participate in this sport? Consider yourself a bohurtist or an armored combat sportist or fighter or whatever language you want to use, and never put on armor. And what prompted this question was a discussion that I've seen in some of the armored combat pages, armored combat sports, one of the larger U.S. kind of Facebook pages where chats and conversations are happening. There's been a lot of conversation about people giving advice who've never been in steel, right? Who've never actually fought in armor or participated in the sport in that way. And I think that's a conversation for a different time. But within that conversation, someone had said a comment that kind of surprised me, that most people in this chat, in this armored combat sports chat page, don't actually fight in steel. They don't participate in the sport. And that got me thinking about what does participation mean, and where do we want this sport to go, and what does it mean to be someone who participates or practices bohurt? I think initially my first thought was, if you don't get in steel, you can't consider yourself someone who studies or practices bohurt. This is a sport that in the sport involves getting in armor to fight. That is the sport, right? You're doing the sport, you're getting into it. Apologize, I'm a little sweaty, out of breath. I just finished a large workout at home. I'm tired. But this has been on my mind while I was working out, so I figured I'd make the video while I could. Also, my audio may be a little bit off. I don't have a lapel mic right now. Unfortunately, on a vacation recently, my bag was stolen out of my car, and I didn't realize until recently that one of the things that was stolen was part of my lapel mic adapter. So it's just a regular cell phone recording for today. So what I'm saying about it is, in most sports, if you don't do the actual live game, you don't consider yourself playing it. I don't think I'd say I play basketball if I never played in the game. If I just shot hoops in my yard, I wouldn't be like, oh, I play basketball. I'd be like, I shoot hoops sometimes, I guess. Or I like to throw the ball around. Or I might say I like to swing a sword, but I wouldn't call myself someone who does the sport, right? But then I was thinking about, are we a martial art, right? And if we're a martial art, and I don't mean the traditional literal term of martial art, war art, right? I'm talking about the Americanized or the sportified version of martial arts, where lots of people do karate and kung fu and other things, and they don't compete in tournaments. They just go and work out, right? BJJ is a huge one. BJJ is gigantic. Some people participate in tournaments and sports and just go to practice every day. And they just work out and they get in shape. And then maybe think about, what do we want our sport to be? And I think there needs to be room for people to participate in the sport and maybe never get in steel. And that's happening here in New England, the Knights Hall. That's something that I've noticed over my years here. We have a very dedicated cadre of steel fighters, right? People who are either in armor, who are fighting in armor all the time, who are coming up the ranks and trying to get their armor and get gear, and then they start fighting. Then people eventually either stay and they keep fighting, or they move on, or a bunch of stuff happens with every sport, right? But the progression is normally you come in, you train for a while, you do some soft kit sparring, then you go, okay, how do I get in armor? You start fighting in events, right? But there's also a section of people who've been around for years who rarely fight in armor, maybe never fight in armor. Maybe I've seen them do it once or twice, and maybe some of them never, because I don't keep track of everybody. But they do come to class often, right? So they come to class and they're working out and they're doing the drills, and sometimes they're doing the striking classes and the grappling and some of the sparring, and they're staying in shape and they're practicing it. And I thought to myself, well, if someone said to them, hey, what do you do with your time? They say, I practice bohurt, right? Because 3 times a week I go to the gym and I practice it, right? And I think there needs to be room for this space in the sport to allow everyone to participate, while also differentiating what the skill sets are, right? So I think maybe the language is someone if I participate in bohurt or I practice bohurt, maybe I'm not a fighter, right? Maybe that's the language. I don't really know. And I think about what do these words mean to each other, and what do they mean when you say them to people. For myself, being a fighter is a big deal. I look at the things that I spend my time on in my life, and it's pretty much family, work, and this is third, right? This is at least third. Sometimes, I think that this will be more important to me in my legacy than my work. Well, I've got a good job. I love it. But I could leave that job and get another one, and I've done it before. But this is something that I've built a life around. I'm in my room gym right now. It's the gym that we've pretty much built for us to work out in. My wife does her own sports and her own workout, but for me, it's primarily training for the sport. And if that's what matters to me, then I think I can call myself a fighter, and I can say that comfortably. I've competed all over the country, and I've competed in Spain, which is great, and I'm gonna hopefully go to Mexico, and I'm dedicate a lot of time, treasure, and my body to this. I like fighting, I like winning. That stuff matters to me. But if I'm someone who comes to the same gym that I go to, someone just shows the gym and they go, hey, I just want to get in shape, and I like swords, and this helps better my health, and helps me get in shape, and helps me find community, we have to leave room for that in this martial art, in the broader sense of it, right? It doesn't mean that we have to dull down or water down the sport. It doesn't mean we have to make it easier. It doesn't mean we have to, take out the violence and the hardcoreness of what we do. But it does mean that we can differentiate those levels and let people be in it at where they want. Now, I have said it before in videos. I'll say it again. I'm very lucky to be in New England, near the Knights Hall, like an hour away from one of the better training facilities to the best in the country. We have the community to allow that stratification, right? We can have the people who say hey, I just want to train and work out and maybe do a little sparring. People say, hey, I'm just here for steel. We have the other end of it. We have people who come and I don't see them at class. Now, I don't go to every class every day, so I may miss them, but I haven't seen them at the gym. But they come to events and they fight. That's maybe what their time spent. They just care about getting in steel. They don't want to train that much. Just want to fight a few times, right? So all that differentiation should be allowed and open in the sport, and it should be something we openly accept in our chats, in our conversations, and letting people kind of in the door at the level that they want to participate, because that's how we grow, right? So I've said it before that if any sport that wants to grow and wants to become big has to have a large base of support of people who don't do it at a hard level. That, in my opinion, is why you're seeing a lot of sports that, like MMA, not UFC, but MMA gyms / BJJ gyms, those kind of martial arts that are really hardcore, really competitive, and really can be really violent. But you're seeing them grow because they've got a whole population of people who are supporting the gym by just participating at the level they want to. If you want everyone to be a top athlete at your gym, that's really hard to maintain. You can't have many of those because you're not going to find that many people who are going to dedicate that much time. You've got to have a base who want to dedicate some time and are willing to pay to participate and be part of the community, because you got to pay to have a gym. It costs money to run things. And then you're going to have the people who get, who then elevate themselves to, this is a focal point of my life, to someone who says, I'm just here, once a week I come in, I do a workout, I swing a foam sword, I go home and I'm happy. I think that's really important that we allow that. So that's what I was videos thinking about, is what's the language that we're using? Are we inviting people in? Are we including them? Are we excluding people because I'm saying, oh, you're not a real fighter? Can that be okay? Right, yeah, I think that's another question too, right? So if you've got someone who is always talking about fighting and their time in armor and what they've done, you go, yeah, but you did a match, right? You did one match, right? Maybe you shouldn't be giving advice. And there's that conversation as well. But I think the bigger piece is, it's okay for you. If you found this channel, if you found one of the chats and you go, yeah, I just kind of want to do this and try it out and get involved a little bit, come do it, right? If it makes you work out and be healthier, this is awesome, right? So one of the reasons I work out in this gym is to become a better fighter. The side benefit for me is it keeps me working out. I probably wouldn't work out as hard and be as healthy overall, and if I didn't have something to push me. I don't like working out on its own. I'm not a gym guy. I don't like going to the gym and just working out. I have to have something in mind that I'm training for. I hope when I retire from this, someday, I'm going to find something else to replace it. It's going to help me stay competitive and keep me in shape, because that's the way I work. I'd love your thoughts on it. If this conversation doesn't make sense, you don't care about it, let me know. I've been thinking about it. I want to have more people participate and feel comfortable in the world that they're in. But I also don't want to dilute what we do and just make it like anyone can show up and be like, hey, I'm a steel fighter. I think you have to do some fighting in steel to say you're a steel fighter. So what are the terms we want to use? What's the language? We have to develop this because we're building this culture over time. And it takes active conversation. So I'd love your thoughts. leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. And, I really hope you like this channel. I hope you have more fun with your training. If you have questions, I'm always here. I'm Woodchuck Knight. I'm kind of rambling. I'm very tired. I just lifted a lot of weights. Thank you all. Have a great day.